Malaysia aware of risk in championing Palestinian cause. Israel to intensify strikes on Gaza ahead of invasion. Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mohunapriya and you're watching World Today. Malaysia is aware and expects the repercussions from Western countries for championing the Palestinian cause, but will continue to highlight the plight of the Palestinian people at the international stage. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said he had no choice in the matter as the Palestinian cause was a humanitarian issue as they have continued to suffer due to the oppression and cruelty of the Zionist regime. He said Malaysia is not alone in fighting for the Palestinian issue and condemning the violence of the Zionist regime.
Cuma yang menariknya pendirian ini tidak lagi pendirian yang disuarakan oleh beberapa satu dua pendapat. Nampaknya kebanyakan negara-negara telah memberikan pandangan yang sama ada secara terbuka ataupun dalam perbincangan tertutup. Nampak ada suatu konsensus, ya, kebimbangan bukan sahaja setakat persoalan kemanusiaan di Gaza, tetapi tempiasan dalam politik masa depan antarabangsa.
Asked if Malaysia would take the initiative among the ASEAN and GCC countries to drag Israel to the International Court of Justice, the Prime Minister said that the government had already stated its stance.
Saya sempat bincang selain dari negara ASEAN dengan Raja Bahrain, ini negara jiran, Amir Qatar yang merupakan suatu tunggak peranan penting dalam isu ini. Kemudian Syekh Muhammad bin Zayed, United Arab Emirates. Kemudian Muhammad bin Salman. Kemudian saya akan lepas menemui Presiden Tayyip Erdogan. Dan setelah itu Jeneral Sisi, Mesir. Ini semua dalam rangka mendapat kata sepakat untuk memberi penyelesaian. Dan kita tidak mau buat bersendirian. Apa-apa yang kita lakukan, kita bincang secara muafakat. Sekurang-kurangnya di kalangan negara jiran, mereka yang akan tepuh ya, dalam barisan depan. Jadi kita kena bincang dengan mereka dan tentunya dengan negara lain. Saya juga telah menelpon ramai lagi pimpinan lain. Tapi kesempatan bertemu, bincang, harus ada suatu kesepakatan dalam membuat apa-apa keputusan.
Speaking to the Malaysian media at the end of his visit to Saudi Arabia on Saturday, the Prime Minister said he would continue to speak out regarding the Palestinian cause in the name of humanity and world peace. On another note, the Prime Minister said Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has agreed to conduct an official visit to Malaysia next year, in line with the agreement between Saudi Arabia and Malaysia to boost diplomatic ties and economic cooperation. He added that Crown Prince Mohammed viewed Malaysia as a strategic partner and agreed that bilateral diplomatic and economic ties between both countries be given serious focus.
Secara praktiknya kita bersetuju untuk adakan dua jalur kegiatan melalui diplomatik dan isu-isu keselamatan yang akan diselaraskan oleh Menteri Luar Negara dan juga isu pelaburan yang besar yang mau diberikan tumpuan sekarang dari segi perdagangan untuk meningkatkan dengan lebih pesat setiausaha yang dipengerusikan oleh Tengku Zafrul MITI.
Crown Prince Mohammed had earlier granted Datuk Seri Anwar an audience and held a four-eyed meeting at Al Yamamah Palace. Crown Prince Mohammed then led the Saudi cabinet to meet the Malaysian delegation before the delegation was invited to dine with him. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister arrived in Istanbul earlier today for a two-day working visit to Turkey, where he is also scheduled to hold a meeting with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The special aircraft carrying the Prime Minister landed at the Istanbul Grand Airport at 3:45 a.m. Malaysian time. Datuk Sri Anwar was accompanied by Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir and Deputy Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Khairul Firdaus Akbar Khan. The Prime Minister was received by Malaysian Ambassador to Turkey Sazali Mustafa Kamal, Istanbul's Deputy Governor Sevket Atli, Commander of the Gendarmerie General Command Colonel Mesut Madan, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs Head of Department for Istanbul Office Mehmet Zaid Uzun. Among the topics set to be discussed between the two leaders is the growing concern about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Israeli Occupation Forces spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari warned on Saturday that Gazans should move south, as he threatened that Israel will continue to attack in the area of Gaza City and increase attacks. Israel has amassed tanks and troops near the fenced border around the narrow coastal enclave for a planned ground invasion with the objective of annihilating Hamas after several inconclusive wars dating to its seizure of power there in 2007. Israel is still launching waves of airstrikes across Gaza as Palestinians fire rockets into Israel. Israel's total siege of Gaza, launched after the 7th October cross-border attack on southern Israel by Hamas fighters, has left the enclave's 2.3 million people running out of food, water, medicine and fuel. Earlier on Saturday, 20 trucks carrying aid crossed into Gaza, the first convoy of humanitarian supplies since Israel began a devastating siege 12 days ago, and after further heavy Israeli bombardment overnight that killed dozens of Palestinians. Gaza's health ministry said on Saturday Israel's air and missile strikes had killed at least 4,400 Palestinians, including hundreds of children, while over 1 million of the territory's people have been displaced. Gaza's Hamas-run government also called for a secure corridor operating around the clock. Meantime, Israeli aircraft struck a compound beneath a mosque in the occupied West Bank early on Sunday that the military said was being used to organize attacks, and Palestinian medics said at least one person was killed. Israel said the compound beneath Al-Ansar Mosque in Jenin refugee camp belonged to operatives from Hamas and Palestinian fighters who were responsible for attacks in recent months. Footage showed a gaping hole in one of the mosque's exterior walls, surrounded by debris.
هذه الناس اغلبها نايمه وش صاحي وش كذا زي هيك ما سمعنا ولا شيء زي ما تقول ضوء بوجهنا وش زي ما تقول انفجار قوي شديد هلعنا على المنطقه لقينا شباب زي ما تقول شيء مستشهد وش اصابات اخذناهم على المستشفى والحمد لله رب العالمين وهذا اللي صار.
Several dozen Palestinians are seen assessing the damage. Meanwhile, aid trucks arrived in Gaza for the first time since the start of the war on Saturday, entering through Egypt's Rafah border crossing as world leaders met for a peace summit in Cairo. UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths said the convoy to Gaza was carrying life-saving supplies, including food, water and medicine. Palestinians warned Saturday that the battered enclave was about to collapse, with more than half of the population displaced by the fighting. In Cairo, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called for immediate, unrestricted and sustained humanitarian aid for Gaza, saying he welcomed the deliveries on Saturday, while warning that they were vastly insufficient to help alleviate the crisis. After 2 weeks of almost no diplomatic progress, the first aid delivery Saturday and the release Friday of 2 American hostages by Hamas raised hopes that there could be room for humanitarian negotiations. Palestinian officials, aid groups and the UN have described the humanitarian conditions in Gaza as increasingly catastrophic, with food in markets and warehouses fast disappearing and fuel and water running out. Coming up next, exiled former Pakistan PM Nawaz Sharif set for a comeback. But first, the French Caribbean island of Guadeloupe was braced for high winds and lashing rains as Hurricane Tammy bore down on the territory, and authorities imposed a stay-home order. The regional prefect, Xavier Lefort, announced a purple cyclone alert, the highest in view of the deterioration of the weather situation in the territory. The prefect has also asked the population to confine themselves and to respect all the recommendations of the authorities. The economy of the Caribbean archipelago of about 380,000 inhabitants is completely shut down, and all movements was prohibited after schools closed on Friday. According to a report issued by the Metro France Weather Agency, driving rain is lashing the archipelago and the sea is already strong. Throws of up to 5 meters are generating surges on the east and south coasts of the island of Marie Galante and La Desirade. Winds of up to 130 kilometers per hour were also expected. The deluge has raised fears of flooding in the area, which was lashed by tropical storm Felipe at the beginning of October. In Guadeloupe, all weekend events have been cancelled, flights grounded, and sea transport between the islands suspended. Three-time Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif ended 4 years of self-imposed exile on Saturday, launching his political comeback at a rally attended by thousands of rapturous supporters ahead of elections due next year. Pakistan is facing overlapping security, economic and political crises ahead of polls pushed back to January 2024, with Sharif's major opponent, the fiercely popular Imran Khan, languishing in jail. His speech focused on the need to tame runaway inflation and for national unity, in an apparent swipe at Imran Khan, whose campaign for re-election has targeted military generals as well as the judiciary. Sharif, who founded the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party, was serving a prison sentence for graft when he left the country in 2018, seeking medical care in Britain, subsequently ignoring multiple court orders to return. Analysts say he has likely brokered a deal with the powerful military establishment, and last week a court granted him protective bail, temporarily removing the threat of arrest. Sharif's return has been touted for months by his party, which hopes his political clout and man-of-the-soil swagger will revive its flagging popularity. Argentine voters are sharply divided ahead of a historic and uncertain presidential election on Sunday, with some saying they might not make up their mind until they reach the ballot box, opening up the potential for last-minute drama. The vote is a tight three-way race between front-runner radical outsider Javier Milei, ruling Petronas economy minister Sergio Massa, and centre-right former security minister Patricia Bullrich, all offering starkly different visions for Argentina. Libertarian economist Milei is in pole position to win, though would likely face a second round. Polls suggest Massa is ahead of Bullrich to claim the second runoff spot, though pollsters failed to predict the result of an August open primary, leaving plenty of room for doubt. Bullrich, whose support has been diluted by the abrupt rise of far-right rival Milei, is the conservative establishment candidate and backed by many in the local business world who like her strong and stable message as well as security focus. The vote marks a major crossroad for Argentina, one of the world's top grains exporter, the largest debtor by far to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and which has large troves of shale oil and gas, as well as electric battery metal lithium. England World Cup winner and Manchester United great Sir Bobby Charlton has died at the age of 86, his family announced in a statement on Saturday. He is survived by his wife, Norma, whom he married in 1961, and his 2 daughters. Charlton was a key member of England's victorious 1966 World Cup team and also enjoyed great success at club level with United, who became the first English club to win the European Cup in 1968. Charlton's European Cup success at United came 10 years after the Munich air disaster, which he and team manager Matt Busby survived, but which claimed the lives of 8 of Charlton's teammates. An extravagantly gifted midfielder with a ferocious shot, Charlton was the leading scorer for both United and England for more than 40 years until being overtaken by Wayne Rooney. Charlton was also renowned for his humility, discipline, and sportsmanship. He was never sent off in 758 appearances for United from 1956 to 1973, or 106 internationals for England from 1958 to 1970. He also won 3 English League titles at United and 1 FA Cup. Coming up in sports, Zizia, Aaron and Wu Yik storm into Denmark Open final. Lee Zizia, Aaron Chia and Su Wu Yik all stamped their attendance in the Denmark Open finals after brilliant victories over their respective opponents early this morning. Zizia ensured a strong Malaysian representation later today after he secured a 21-15, 21-17 success over Hong Kong's Lee Cheuk Yew to stamp a second consecutive final. Last week's Arctic Open champion was facing an attacking player like himself, therefore he did not get the opportunity to go on the offense all the time. But the Hong Kong shuttler opened up enough opportunities for Zizia to attack and notch the comfortable win. The world number 11 goes on to face China's Weng Hong Yang. Meantime, Aaron and Wu Yik came off from a game down to beat home pair Kim Astrup Anders Skarp Rasmussen 16-21, 21-15, 21-15. Aaron and Wu Yik surrendered the opening game to Astrup Rasmussen after a keenly contested early exchange, but got their act together in the second game. They leveled the tie with a solid combined effort. They struck to the same plan in the decider, and coupled with an immaculate defense, the Danes wilted away and the Malaysians celebrated a deserved victory. They will be hoping to come good in their 4th final of the year against Indonesians Shoaibul Fikri and Bagas Maulana. Liverpool continued their stranglehold over local rivals Everton on Saturday, but had fortune on their side as Mohamed Salah's double secured a 2-0 win at Anfield. Everton were left furious at the inconsistency of referee Craig Pawson as Ashley Young was sent off 7 minutes before halftime for 2 bookable offences, while Ibrahima Konate escaped a second booking in the second half with the scores still level. Liverpool toiled to make their man advantage count, but finally achieved the breakthrough 15 minutes from time when Salah smashed home from the penalty spot after Michael Keane handled. Salah was then teed up by Darwin Nunez to make the points safe 7 minutes into stoppage time. The Reds have lost just 1 of their last 29 Merseyside derbies and remain unbeaten at Anfield in front of a crowd against Everton since 1999. No fixture has had more red cards in the Premier League era than clashes between these two, and another sending off proved decisive. Moving on to the Saudi Pro League, Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 11th goal of the 2023-24 SPL campaign to seal a 2-1 win for Al Nassr at home to Damak. After Cameroon international Georges Kevin Nkodu gave the visitors the lead in the first half stoppage time, Anderson Talisca levelled the scoring shortly after the break from a free kick. Ronaldo bagged the decider with his own free kick 4 minutes later. The goal is Ronaldo's 12th for Al Nassr this season across all competitions and his 41st for club and country this calendar year at the age of 38. The win sees Al Nassr move into 3rd, ahead of Karim Benzema's Al Ittihad, trailing Al Tawoun in 2nd by 1 point and league leaders Al Hilal by 4. Elsewhere, former Premier League stars Alan Saint-Maximin and Riyad Mahrez were on the score sheet as Al Ahly defeated Al Wehda 3-1. A Saint-Maximin goal gave the hosts the lead on the stroke of half-time before a deflected own goal from defender Abdul Basid Hindi brought Al Wehda back into the game. A bullet header from Brazilian defender Roger Ibanez in the 68th minute restored Al Ahly's lead, however, with Mahrez adding a third to secure all 3 points in the 84th. Al Ahly now sit level on points with Al Nassr on 22, but trail by an inferior goal difference. Andre Pollard kicked a last-gasp penalty as South Africa fought back to beat England 16-15 and set up a Rugby World Cup final clash against their fellow triple champions, New Zealand. The Springboks looked on the verge of defeat as England's kicking game worked wonders at a rainy and windy start to France. But a late surge through R.G. Snyman's try and Pollard's kick with less than 3 minutes left gave them a scrappy win. England relied on the boot of Owen Farrell, who kicked 4 penalties and a long-range drop goal, but their limits eventually showed. They will meet Argentina next Friday in the third-place playoff at the Stade de France. Red Bull's triple world champion Max Verstappen won a US Grand Prix sprint race from pole position on Saturday, with old foe Lewis Hamilton second for Mercedes. The 26-year-old Dutch finished 9.465 seconds ahead of Hamilton, who seized second at the start and gave chase, but then dropped back in the 19-lap standalone race at Austin Circuit of the Americas. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc took third after being passed by Hamilton at the start of a race that paid points to the top 8 finishers. The main event at the Texas track is on Sunday, with Leclerc starting on pole position and Verstappen chasing his 50th Grand Prix win from 6th on the grid. Dominant Red Bull and Verstappen have already secured both the Constructors' and Drivers' World Championship with a fistful of races to spare. Red Bull have also won 16 of 17 races this year.
Yeah, I think the whole day so far.
Up next in our offbeat segment, Chinese sci-fi fans over the moon at Chengdu Worldcon. From jumpsuits to a school yearbook, the life of American musician Elvis Presley has been transported to London for a new exhibition direct from Graceland, Elvis. While the late king of rock and roll's famous home in Memphis, Tennessee, has been open to the public since 1982, fans will now be able to get up close to items from his life in the British capital. The retrospective, which covers the star's musical journey, family life and hobbies, features over 400 artifacts, including a gold tuxedo he wore on stage in 1957, his football kit, and items his late daughter Lisa Marie Presley wore as a baby. As well as items from Graceland, the new London exhibition also features costumes worn by actor Austin Butler when he played Elvis in director Baz Luhrmann's 2022 biopic. Complete with interactive elements like being allowed to hold the gold microphone Elvis used on stage in Las Vegas, the latest exhibition at Arches London Bridge opens on the 20th October and runs until early 2024. In a sleek silver building designed to look like an expanding nebula, thousands of delighted Chinese science fiction fans gathered this week for a massive international convention. The convention's venue is the striking Chengdu Science Fiction Museum, designed by the renowned Zaha Hadid architects, built in just 1 year and open for Worldcon. On Friday, its cavernous atrium was filled with a buzz of excited voices.
闯这一段以及来这个地方，都是本身就是一个非常有趣的事情，或者说我觉得就应该把科幻、把幻想融入自己的生活。
这个是65式尖桩，因为三体的开头的那一段时期就是穿这种尖桩的。我比较喜欢那个时期，所以就穿这个尖桩。
Global interest in Chinese science fiction has spiked in recent years after Liu Cixin's Three-Body series became an international phenomenon. This Worldcon also looks very different compared to past ones in global cities, which historically are run by volunteers with costs covered by members. Members of the media and invited guests got a first look inside Disney's first World of Frozen theme park after the new attraction at Hong Kong Disneyland opened for a preview. Based on the popular animated film series Frozen, landmarks including Elsa's Ice Palace, Arendelle Village and the Clock Tower have been recreated. Attractions include a boat ride set to music from the movies and a themed high-speed family coaster. Visitors can also meet actors portraying key characters from the franchise, such as Elsa, Anna, and Snowman Olaf.
Today is the Frozen Ever After ride. That is a really fun, whimsical boat ride that you can board the boat and go up to Elsa's Ice Palace. The other one is Wandering's Oaken Sliding Sleighs. That's the first Frozen themed coaster that is launched into the world. So I'm really excited for guests to experience the coaster that Wandering Oakens has put together. It's a really fun ride that guests, once they board on the sliding sleighs, they can see the really nice panoramic view of the Arendelle village and also the harbor.
World of Frozen opens to the general public on the 20th November. A Taiwanese couple, decked out in a tux and gown, embrace in front of a mountain of trash in an unorthodox wedding photo. One of the environment-conscious bride hopes will discourage her guests from generating unnecessary garbage. Greenpeace campaigner Iris Sue and her fiancé are having their environmentally friendly wedding in January and have asked guests to bring their own containers for taking home leftovers. Deciding that showing and not telling was a more effective communication method, the Taipei-based couple traveled 3 hours south for a photo shoot in Nantou County's Puli Township, where the amount of trash brought into a local dump has steadily risen over the years.
也有很多亲友开始跟我说啊，就是看到我们的这个婚纱很感动，所以他愿意继续吃素，或是他愿意在日常生活中就是去带餐盒。对，我就觉得就是这个照片既然能够引起大家这么多讨论，而且有很多朋友他们开始愿意持续做环保的行动。
The photos ended up drawing local media attention, but she is just happy about the conversation her photos have started.
76 minit tanpa henti, 76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise. Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam. Malaysia Tonight, 8:30 p.m.
And that concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Israel to intensify strikes on Gaza ahead of invasion. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya, Malaysia Madani, Tekad Perpaduan, Penuhi Harapan. Thank you for your company.